I'm Kari Lamont. I work for McCormick & Company. Currently work in our Łódź, Poland Shared Service Center. I've been with McCormick for 9 years. Actually, this past weekend made my 9-year anniversary. And I currently have 2 roles combined into one. I've got functional ownership for shared services, project management, process improvement, change management, facilitation, training, communication, basically the support services for shared services, and then tangential processes. And then, because that wasn't enough to do, we've bolted on an additional role where I've moved to Poland, where we've got a startup center since 2014. And what I do there is I provide the site leadership for our 200 or so, 180 or so folks in Łódź to make sure that our culture is connected from McCormick around the world to this new kind of greenfield site. So my group is a fairly small team, but I've got a team of about 10 around the world, and we provide project management. So as we're going through these transformation activities, so whether that's going live with Ariba or moving a new site onto SAP, my folks are involved in getting the plans together, getting the subject matter experts together, navigating the relationships with IT, with the business, to make sure that all the plans are in place, the communications are happening, the trainings are set up. We're worrying about the details. So those are the big projects. We also do organizational change type projects, and then we also have another kind of arm of our group that does knowledge management. So we own the process for process. So process documentation, narratives, flows, training materials. So these things are all living documents, and we own not the content, but how we maintain those pieces of information. McCormick has a really unique culture, and we are the power of people. No matter where you go in the world, any McCormick facility you walk into, you feel McCormick. It doesn't matter if that's in Canada, if that's in a new site in Dubai, if that's in India. Everybody works for McCormick, everybody knows what they're after, everybody's got a passion for flavor, everybody's just got a passion for that, and the power of people is just so palpable. We wanted to make sure as we were hiring our new employees in Poland that was part of who they were too. And every individual counts, every individual matters. We're not terribly hierarchical, we're not terribly top down. So it was very much not only a skill set, but a cultural fit within the bigger McCormick family. So we have a high performance framework. It's one framework that applies across the world, and it's really based on 3 core beliefs. One is the deepest respect for people. Every person has capabilities, and we need those capabilities and contributions for the company to be successful. And it seems so obvious to say it, but it makes sense, right? If you aren't contributing anything to the organization, well, why are you there, right? And then the third core belief that goes in that is that everybody works in their own self-interest. So what motivates me is very different than what motivates you. And unless we talk about that and really, really understand it, we can't really connect to that. So if every individual matters and every individual is different and motivated differently, how do we build upon all of that to get the best out of everybody, to align to common practice, to align to common objective? So really we started with just helping people understand that they're valuable, and showing that in every day, whether that's a thank you, a smile, a good morning, whatever that might be. So there's simple things. Then beyond that, we instilled goals and performance management and the right ways of working. Every employee has a development plan. Every employee has goals that are tied to our major strategies, and they understand the role that they play and why it's important. They know the support structure that they have. We have 2 centers. They back each other up. They're not operating independently. They're governed by the same end-to-end process owners and the same end-to-end functional directors. So that was a big step change for us, was to recognize that we needed to come together under global process ownership and really understanding that to drive consistency, standardization, et cetera. We have really low turnover, and we have really high promotional rates. So within our center of 180 folks, we've had something like 25 or 30 promotions, lateral movements, or just different opportunities. And that's huge for folks to stay engaged and to stay, really understanding that there's different opportunities, especially in our site in Poland. They're millennials, and their pace of change is so fast. They expect a new role every 6 months, so if we can keep up and give a new role every 12 months or 18 months, then I think we're doing okay. Some of the challenges is that pace of change, and when you take a 127-year-old company that moves somewhat slowly and methodically and conservatively, trying to keep up with that pace that is the expectation for the millennial is different. Some of the other challenges deal with technology. We're not the fastest to move into new technologies and keeping up with some of that way of life. But some of the advantage, there's so much energy. There's this want for learning and this want for trying new things and experiencing different ways of working in different cultures. There's not this reservation to give an opinion. Very, very forthcoming with thoughts and ideas, want to contribute, want to make a difference, and you can't put a value on that. It's just tremendous. The best way to manage it is just to help people get together and share their stories. So sitting in the Wood Center, we'll have a general meeting that will span both locations, actually all of our locations around the world. And we'll have service anniversaries. And I love this because we have folks in the US who have been with the company for 35, 40, even 45 years. And these service anniversaries come up and they flash on the screen. And I'm sitting with this group of people that average age is 26, 27. And I turn to them and I say, Marie has worked for McCormick longer than you've been on the planet, and possibly longer than your mother has been on the planet. Take a minute to think about what that means and how much McCormick is part of Marie's life, right? And they're sitting there thinking, wow, I could really have a career. I don't think that's ever entered their world or their mind to think that I could retire from the first company I work for. And I think they understand that. And when Marie gets on the phone with Małgosia in Poland, Marie's got so much experience, there's an automatic respect. That hierarchical kind of storied respect is there. And Marie says, wow, it's refreshing to work with Małgosia, who's got so much energy. And so I think it's just helping them understand that this is the situation we're in. We can embrace it. We could be scared of it, but what's the better choice? And people have been pretty forthcoming. I think once the faces got put to the names, and it wasn't just names in boxes, and it wasn't just this big scary change, and it was everybody joining our new team, and we're celebrating these 180 people who've just joined our organization, it's exciting. Some of the things I think are important are communication. Absolute two-way, multi-way, maybe two is not even enough, but it's got to be listening and active understanding. So, right, Covey says, seek first to understand before being understood. So take that moment, pause, listen, understand what's going on, ask questions, really get into it and get engaged and get involved. So I think that base level of understanding, and then the ability to communicate effectively. So work through people, over-communicate if that's possible, in whatever way you need to make sure you're aligned. So I think communication, I think flexibility. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen 10 minutes from now, let alone tomorrow. So we have to be prepared and we have to be flexible to understand. And we can't get upset when things don't go our way. We have to pick ourselves up and go, okay, didn't see that coming. What can we do now? And how can we handle that? And then I think, and I talked about this in the presentation, one of the biggest features or aspects I think a person in today's world can have is humility. We're all people. We're all just trying to do our best. Nobody comes to work and says, I want to do a bad job today. I'm really going to screw it up today. But how do you deal with that? How do you put your best self forward, but also recognize that I'm going to make a mistake? And what can I do? So if I make that mistake, I have to put my hand up and take accountability and say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. But here's what I've learned, and here's how I'm going to do things differently. Or, you know what? I have no idea why I made that mistake. Can you help me? Can you help me figure out what I need to do differently? And how can we resolve this so that that doesn't happen again?